MVP.
Rangers do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 74. It's myself and Al Ryan. And if you thought Chris Guest was coming back tonight, you're just not a fan of the podcast because he was not coming back after an L to his beloved San Francisco 49ers. That was for sure. However, Al, I guarantee you on Sunday, he was sitting there counting his fantasy football points with a George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey on his roster.
I'm sure he was. He really has all those Niners on his team?
All those guys on his team.
Oh, what does Chris like to call everybody? A rat? That's a rat move. Are you kidding me? He drafted all them?
No, so it's his dynasty league, so he's building around them. It's his core.
Yeah, so that's awful, dude. That's awful. I was saying rip your tickets up because last week, what'd you say? He was like plus 400 to be on the pod this week.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been getting people, listen, new fan of the show, Matt McConaughey, was asking me tonight. He said, what's going on with this dude? Who's this third guy? He said he's got to come back. He owes the fans his presence here. I agree.
100%. I couldn't agree more. The fans are asking for him. He's a fan favorite, and they want to know when he's going to be coming back. You saw the Instagram post yesterday, maybe 2025. I don't know. Let's just, thoughts are out there for Chris. The show's not the same without him.
Think about it. Diversa hasn't been in the chat since. He's boycotting. He's out.
I don't blame him. It's hard to put on a quality show without Chris, but we're going to do our best to do so. Episode 74, I got away from the Hogs a little bit. Again, we're in no man's land, but how about that Ugueth Urbina?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I had a murder.
What's that?
What was the story? Didn't he burn a guy or something like that?
I think so, right? Was it somebody that broke into his house or something?
I'm Googling it right now. He was in prison for attempted murder. He was in prison for 5.5 years.
All right. What about Merlin Olsen for number 74?
Who was that?
I don't know. If you Google athletes who were 74, he comes up. Apparently, he played in the NFL at one point.
Yeah, the 70s. Like I said, the 70s are pretty bleak. But speaking of bleak, the Philadelphia Eagles get smacked 42-19 to the San Francisco 49ers to drop them to 10-2. We spoke last week about the predictions of what we thought was going to happen, and my exact words were, I thought they were going to get their dicks kicked in. However, Al, I will tell you this. It's one thing to feel it. It is one thing to believe it. It is one thing to predict it. It is a completely different thing to actually see it unfold in front of you and what it can do to your psyche as a fan. What were your thoughts? Where are we at now? Are our beliefs in this team, are they soured at all from what you saw on Sunday?
Well, let's start from the top. We've been waiting all season long for the game where the Eagles put it all together. That's what we've been saying all season. And this might have been the opposite. This is the game where everything went wrong at the same time. The D-line that has been fantastic all season long was gassed. They played a terrible game. You mentioned that the Philadelphia Eagles will lose if we lose the battle in the trenches. And we were dominated in the trenches. The D-line only pressured Brock Purdy 4 times total in the game. They only hurried him once, they only hit him once, and they only had 2 sacks, which were both, I don't know when they even occurred.
They were early in the game.
They were both probably meaningless sacks, if we're being honest, right? And when the D-line isn't getting pressure, nothing else is going to work because our linebackers right now, they stink. They belong in the CFL. The secondary just got abused all game. We're playing this weird soft coverage where you got guys standing 8-12 yards off the line of scrimmage when San Francisco has like a second and long or a third and long. What was the one play? 3rd and 12 and Ayuk? I mean, how far away was Big Play Slay on that play at the line of scrimmage? He was 8 yards off of him. So I just think everything went wrong for the Eagles this game, and San Francisco just they had this game circled as soon as they lost that NFC Championship game, and they absolutely punched them in the mouths. And they proved that, yes, San Francisco right now, they are the best team in the NFL. They're better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
100% correct on a lot of your observations. The issue that it becomes is the numbers, especially over the last 4 weeks, have been telling you that this Eagles team is not as good as their record. And
Right.
we kept saying, it doesn't matter. It's the moxie to pull through at the end of the game. They have it, they have it, they have it. But now after seeing a game like that where they play a team like San Francisco, who by all means, like you said, they're probably the best team in the NFL. It doesn't look like they're close to what San Francisco has. And you start to wonder whether or not those numbers are real. And when you break them down further, and I have some examples here, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
They're defensively on third down. They're the worst defense in the league on third down. They're giving up 47% of third down conversions. They're 24th in total defense at this point in the season. Offensively, they haven't, in weeks 2 through 5, they had 400 yards plus yards in every single one of those games. They have not had 400 yards in a game since the Rams game in week 5. That was the last time and in that stretch, they've given up 400 plus yards in 4 out of 7. They've been outgained in 5 straight games. It's really, really ugly. And you start to wonder, and if you look at the Vegas lines, Vegas is treating the Eagles like they treated the Minnesota Vikings last year. And I don't want to make that comparison because I don't think it's that drastic. But if you remember, the Vikings had a great record, and Vegas just completely disrespected them week after week because the analytics and the numbers told them otherwise. Eagles were 3-point underdogs at home last week, which means if they were playing in San Francisco last week, they would have been 9-point dogs to San Francisco. On a neutral field, they would be 6 points worse than San Francisco. This week, they are over a field goal underdogs at Dallas.
And how can we argue that? How can we argue that? You just put it all out there for us. Like, for us at this point to say that the Eagles look like a championship caliber team, that's just putting on Homer blinders. I'm not going to sit here and say that. They do have problems. Jalen Hurts, listen, I talked about it earlier this year. You talked about it as well. He's regressed. And I saw some of the all-22 tape of that game on Sunday, where if you watch some of those plays, Jalen Hurts took it back. He had time in the pocket. He had time to go through his progressions. He had guys in the all-22 film. There are guys that are open. The Niners played man-to-man straight up without safety help on some of those plays, and he just missed guys. I mean, he's throwing the ball too late. A lot of those passes to A.J. Brown in the end zone, they're too late. They're too late out of his break. He's not giving his guys a chance to make a play. I don't know what's going on with Jalen Hurts and his inability to kind of make his read and trust his read and throw the ball and get it out in time to a receiver in open space. A.J. Brown has made him look great this year. And I think it's starting, the house of cards are starting to crumble here a little bit as of late, as far as Jalen Hurts is concerned this season.
I said last week that Hurts was the favorite to win MVP from the Vegas odds. Chris said he had sealed it up after the victory against Buffalo. And I said last week I thought it was the worst MVP season that I'd ever seen. I think we just need to end the conversation. The guy I don't want to say he hasn't been good this year, but he's nowhere near an MVP candidate. Passing wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th in the league in passing yards. Passing touchdowns, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th in passing touchdowns. Interceptions, he is 1, 2, 3, tied for 4th for most interceptions in the league. The only thing bolstering this guy's MVP case is A, the Eagles record, which is 10-2, and that may be more of a team thing, and B, the fact that he has 12 rushing touchdowns, which, let's be real, they're inflated because of the tush push. Like, that's what it is. If every quarterback did a QB sneak when they were in the 1 yard line, we'd all have a ton of rushing touchdowns. And I'm not saying he's having a bad year, but to call him an MVP candidate by the way he's played is just not correct because he's regressed from where he was last year. And there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks that have just been flat out better than him this year.
And listen, let's take this conversation there right now. We want to talk about MVPs. It looks like him and Brock Purdy have switched bodies. Brock Purdy, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He is just efficient. He is the straw that stirs the drink in the 49ers offense. And I can say that because the 49ers didn't look this way with Jimmy Garoppolo and with Trey Lance. I don't know how we could sit here and say that Jalen Hurts should win the MVP award this season, but then say that Brock Purdy doesn't deserve it because of the weapons he has. Because Jalen Hurts has the same luxuries. He has A.J. Brown. He has Devontae Smith. When Dallas Goedert isn't hurt, he has Dallas Goedert. Brock Purdy is absolutely an MVP candidate, and he should be the front runner at this point.
I disagree with you on that respect. I don't think Purdy he's been really, really good. And I'm not going to take that away from him. But I do think he's a little bit of a product of the system. Those four guys that they have in Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle are absolutely electric after the catch. And that was the biggest mismatch on the field on Sunday is the Eagles' back seven against those guys because they couldn't tackle them. They couldn't stay with them athletically. They couldn't catch them. McCaffrey, to me, is the MVP of that team. I know a quarterback is going to win the award because they always do. But the Eagles' constant monitoring of Christian McCaffrey, I think, is what led to some of those Deebo Samuel plays, led to those George Kittle plays over the middle, led to the Brandon Ayuk getting open. And he is just the stir, the what did I say? The stir, the straw that stirs the drink. Excuse me there. Like, so for me, like McCaffrey's the guy. I also think, in my opinion, the MVP of the league right now is Tyreek Hill. If he goes over 2,000 yards, the things he does for that team, he is the scariest person to play against in the NFL. And my man Tua gets no respect either. If we're going to put Brock Purdy in there, how are we not going to put Tua in there as well?
But we can't keep doing this to Purdy. Like, why do we keep on underrating and saying he's a system quarterback and he has weapons? But for every other guy that we talk about, as far as quarterbacks go, when you talk about a Josh Allen who has a Stephon Diggs, when you talk about Patrick Mahomes, who had in one point of his career Tyreek Hill, you're talking about Brock Purdy. He's 14-3 as a starter in San Francisco. If you watched him on the field against the Eagles Sunday, and I know you did, but generally speaking, as far as national people go, he's making plays, man. Like he is making plays. He's running out of the pocket, running right, throwing darts. He's putting the ball exactly where it needs to be to get those guys out in open space to let them run. I just think that it is disrespectful at this point to Brock Purdy to say that he is not an MVP candidate. He's not a top 3 at minimum MVP candidate in this league.
He's a candidate. I'm not saying he's not a candidate. Like in regards to where we are in Vegas, it's him, Dak. At this point, those are the two.
He's the quarterback for the best.
And Jalen is still in the mix. But to me, I still think McCaffrey's the guy on that team that is the guy.
That's fine, but that's fine. But he's the quarterback for the best team in the league. And historically, especially recently, that's the guy who wins the award.
And I'm not going to – his numbers, he leads the NFL in QB rating. Do we want to look at where Jalen is in QB rating? I got to click next page. It's never
scroll. Yeah, you got to scroll pretty far down, I imagine.
So if I told you Jalen Hurts was at 93.8 and the guy under him was 92.4, would you have a guess on who the guy under him was?
Is it DeVito?
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I got it.
Tommy DeVito. And listen, we're laying into Jalen. He's been really good in crunch time. He's been a good quarterback this year. Just don't think he's been elite. And I think he took a step back, and it finally came back to burn them on Sunday.
He is not elite this year. I mean, if you want to sit here and say that Jalen Hurts has played elite football this year, that's a homer take. It's simple as that.
All right, let's look now at the overall big picture after Sunday.
Well, I just want to touch on one thing real quick because I wanted to talk about this being a schedule loss.
Yep.
And I'm going to sit here. We got our asses kicked. There's no excuses whatsoever. With that being said, this was just an absolute monster of a game to have to play if you're the Philadelphia Eagles at this point in the season, coming off those 3 games against Dallas, Kansas City, and Buffalo, playing a San Francisco team that just had 10 days rest, playing them down a couple guys on the defensive and offensive end that are starters. I just think it was a nightmare spot for the Eagles, and it doesn't help when you're playing a team like the 49ers. And I think if the roles were reversed, I'm not saying that the Eagles are on the winning end of the 42-19 blowout, but I do think that potentially it changes. It's a difference maker if the Niners are hurt and they're limping in and we're coming off 10 days rest and we're healthy.
That's a great point by you. And it's something that we've talked about week after week during this stretch is that eventually it's going to catch up to them. The one thing you didn't mention that I think we need to also address, the Eagles were coming off a short week.
Well, no,
no,
not that week they
I'm
weren't.
sorry. It was a short week the week before.
Right.
San Francisco was coming off 10 days rest. This game, emotionally, you could tell with the way they came, through all they were talking before the game, the way they came dressed in all black. This was their Super Bowl for regular season. If they lost this game, it would have done a lot of damage to that team's mental state. So they came in here with a lot more fire in their belly than that Philadelphia Eagles team. It meant more to them. And I kind of think they circled it after what happened last year. And in the regular season, that's okay that happens, especially given the stretch the Eagles had with, again, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo. You can only get emotionally revved up so many times in the regular season to do that. With that said, the Eagles again are on another scheduling disadvantage this week because Dallas is on a 10-day break. So the NFL did the Eagles dirty with some of the scheduling in this stretch for sure. So that 100% played a factor in the way the game was played on Sunday. Again, you can't go back and say that necessarily when you lose 42-19, but it certainly played a factor in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just don't think it was, it was not a fair fight coming into it. Our backs were against the wall. Despite having home field, our backs were a little bit against the wall.
I think we're on the same page there. With that said, the landscape of the NFC, it has changed at this point in time. So the Eagles still hold a 1-game lead as they sit with 2 losses in the NFC. Dallas and San Francisco are a game back. However, San Francisco now has the tiebreaker over the Eagles with 3 losses. So if the event of a tie between those 2 teams, it would go to San Francisco. With that said, we now go to Dallas this week, which will be a huge game. If the Eagles win this game, they'll pretty much lock up the division and have a really good chance of getting the number 1 overall seed. But let me ask you this. Is the San Francisco team, is it the best offense in the NFC?
Well, I sat down and I wrote down the skill players for each of the top 4 teams, the Niners, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Lions. And I don't think it's close. When you compare the top weapons for each team, you talk about, first of all, McCaffrey's the best of all of them. He's better than AJ. He's better than CD Brown. He's better than, I'm talking about the Lions. Yeah, he's better than Amon-Ra. And then you got Debo, who is just a Swiss Army knife type of player, can do it anywhere on the field, can take it 70 yards, can run a slant, can run a screen, can run an end around. Ayuk is a field stretcher. He's a gamer. And then you got George Kittle, who can block. He's blocking 2 guys down the field Sunday against the Eagles, and he can make a catch. And then when you throw in the fact that Brock Purdy is playing at an MVP level, I'll say it again, I think that it's unquestionable that the 49ers have the best offense in the NFL, and I haven't even talked about the offensive line.
And you left out another key part. They have Kyle Shanahan, who might be the best offensive mind on that team with the work that he's done on some of these quarterbacks. You mentioned Garoppolo and Purdy and those guys that have just flourished under his system. There's been a couple other ones last year when Garoppolo was hurt that are slipping my mind. But again, I couldn't agree more. Those weapons, there's one thing that those weapons that's a negative with those guys, and they're all injury prone, all of them. And you mentioned the Eagles caught them at 100% health. That's the one thing that you have to worry about with the San Francisco 49ers is that especially Debo, McCaffrey, and Kittle, they've all had a significant injury history. And Ayuk has had a couple as well. So that's the one thing that can end up taking this team down, in my opinion. But as of right now, they are the class of the NFC. That's for sure.
Yep, it's clear.
They're obviously going to be the team you trust the most then as well?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And the only reason why you wouldn't is you can say because Purdy doesn't have the experience in the playoffs. Obviously, he went down early on in the NFC Championship game last year. But, I mean, he has shown nothing but the resolve that you would expect to see from a quarterback who could potentially win a championship. He doesn't have to do much. He doesn't try to do much. He does what the play asks him to do, and that's it. And he's just mowing teams down, man. 3 losses in his career. I mean, it's a short career thus far, only a year and a half, but he just looks so calm, composed. He has a punchable face. He has that smirk that you just want to slap off his face. I will say that. But no, I trust him, and I definitely trust, the other guys we talked about.
So I feel like we've talked a lot about San Francisco and not necessarily a ton about the Eagles. I did want to touch, they did make an addition this week with Shaquille Leonard coming in. Obviously, it's going to be Shaquille Leonard was an all-pro linebacker a few years ago before he had major back issues. But it's going to be at least some sort of value because the linebacker play has not been very good at all. They're obviously banged up losing Cunningham for a couple weeks. Do you think the Shaquille acquisition is going to have a huge impact on this team?
No, not huge. Huge is definitely an overstatement. He's lost a step. He should hopefully still be serviceable, but it's more about the D-line in front of him than what he can do as an individual. I've seen some plays that, where he tries to make a play and he's a half step too late, or he takes a bad angle, and it's probably a play that before the back injury he makes. What I'm looking for him more of is just the veteran leadership and being a voice in the locker room for a group of linebackers that right now just are, they have to be the low men on the totem pole in that locker room. I mean, you're talking about guys that got outplayed. They look terrible. Morrow gets run over by Purdy. Guys that have never been there before. They don't know how to pick it back up and get back on the horse. So I think a guy like Shaquille Leonard is going to be good in that sense. And, if he provides a little bit of a spark on the field, that's great, but not a huge impact, a minimal impact, I would say.
To your point, per Jeff McClain, I have a tweet here. Of the 314 passing yards from the 49ers, 213 came after the catch. With that said, Nicholas Morrow alone accounted for 151 of the yards after catch on Sunday.
Yeah.
He also in total allowed 6 catches for 175 yards on 8 targets. He was downright horrible on Sunday. And listen, they lack athleticism on the back end. Reed Blankenship has a little bit of a nose for the football, but he's not an athlete by any means. And Kevin Byard, was supposed to be this guy who was going to come in and solidify that back end. I haven't seen it. He's made one play since he's been here, that interception. And other than that, I haven't really seen a lot from him.
He was absolutely missing from action on Sunday.
All right, so let's move forward. Again, at the end of the day, it's one loss in the regular season. They still have the best record in the NFL. Full-blown panic, cause for concern but not worried, or no concern. Where's your meter at on the Philadelphia Eagles right now moving forward?
Well, it kind of depends on what the expectations are. So
steal my stuff.
So right now, in the bubble, in the lens of the regular season, very minimal concern. But through the lens of this being a championship winning team, I have a lot of concern. I would say I'm at about a 9 out of 10. When I think about the top 5 teams in the league, I don't know if I have the Philadelphia Eagles in that top 5 anymore based on what I've seen. I've been giving them the benefit of that all year because I thought that they played one of the toughest schedules in the league. And I've been saying that winning these close games against tough opponents is better than blowing out the cupcakes. And while I still stand by that, there were obvious just places on the field where they did not look great. And that all came to a head on Sunday, and San Francisco just exposed all of it. So, look, if they go into Dallas this week and we take another ugly L, that's going to be a 10 out of 10 for me. But I think we do have a chance to right the ship Sunday with a big win in Dallas, which would then, make me dial it back a little bit.
All right, I'm going to be the first one off the boat. I don't think this team's good enough to win a Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't think this team's good enough to go to the Super Bowl. You said it best. I still think they're a very, very good football team. But the numbers, they only lie for so long. And you can only pull these wins out for so long. There's a world, and I know this is hypothetical, where this team has just lost 4 games in a row. And it's not a world that's that far off. The ball bounces one way or another. This team could have very well lost to Dallas. They could have very well lost to Kansas City. They could have very well lost to Buffalo. And for weeks we said, well, we didn't. Well, guess what? Like, the numbers are there. The numbers are saying this team is not very good. Says the quarterback hasn't been very good. They have a point differential that's around plus 40. It's league average. It's not the point differential for a 10-2 football team. Right now, I think they're the third best team in the NFC still, but they're not in the ballpark of San Francisco if they're healthy. They can't beat them if they're healthy. And I firmly believe that. So, Chris, I wish you were on the podcast to tell me how disrespectful I'm being, but I don't see a world where they're beating that football team. That team on the field on Sunday was miles better than this Philadelphia team. And it also comes down to some coaching. We haven't touched on that at all. And you know what? For weeks we've sat here and bashed the coordinators on this football team. It's time for the head coach to take some heat as well, because what does he do other than gets himself involved in altercations, right? It's his job to run the offense. I read an article today that he's very involved in the game plan week to week on the offense. The game plan week to week has not been very good offensively for what they're doing.
No.
And he got outcoached terribly on Sunday.
Yep. I mean, the game plan week to week is get it to Kenny Gainwell in the red zone. That's the game plan week to week that I'm seeing.
Let me also add this because I wanted to add this in Kenny Gainwell the thing. I've realized why the Detroit Lions gave up on DeAndre Swift, because he will fall down when the wind blows. He's soft, and he's got speed, he's got breakaway talent, but he looked like he wanted no part of getting hit on Sunday by that San Francisco team.
He has terrible vision too.
Yeah, he bounces everything outside.
Terrible vision. He never takes it inside.
He doesn't like getting hit. He doesn't like getting hit.
Yep.
I'm 100% convinced of that. All right, let's go to the prediction for this week's game. Unless you have something else you want to add.
No, no.
Let me start this week
because I was so mad. I was so mad that I cooled down after 24 hours, and now I'm mad again. So let's move on.
Let me start this one. I just ripped the Birds to shreds. The Dallas Cowboys are coming in red hot. This is a monster game in regards to the division. If Dallas wants any shot of taking the division, they need to win this football game. With that said, I think the Birds bounce back. I really do. As good as I think Dallas is, and I really, really do like all the parts of their team, Dak Prescott is playing at an unbelievable level. I think it's something like 24 touchdowns to 2 interceptions over the last 5 or 6 football games.
Last 6 games, he's 70% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns to 2 picks, 123 QB rating.
Yeah, it's the best he's ever played, the best stretch of football that he's ever played.
Yeah.
I just don't trust this team to win a big game. I need to see it before I'm going to bet it. And I think the city's down on these guys. I think they do bounce back and take this game. I have them 30-26 in a close one. So I know that contradicts a lot of the things that I've said earlier on this podcast. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they're anywhere near San Francisco's league. I do think they're on par with where Dallas is at this point in time.
Well, I just think this is a perfect spot for Dallas. It's another opponent for Philly that's getting 10 days rest prior to playing us. It's another opponent that I think Dallas still needs the win more than Philly, because I think in their locker room, they believe they can steal the East. They're catching us. We're reeling. We're on our heels. This is going to be a big measuring stick for the Philadelphia Eagles, for the players and the coaches, to see how they bounce back from a demoralizing loss, because champions bounce back. So this is going to tell us a lot about what this team has in the tank as far as a postseason run. Hurts, as a starter, is only 5-5 after a loss, so he's only playing 500 ball. That does count. His rookies 2 years ago when he had some starts at the end of the season and they were really bad. So that's that. Take it with a grain of salt. But I thought this was a loss before the season started. I thought that they were going to split the home and home with Dallas. Our run D is looking very suspect. Our secondary is getting torched. Jalen Hurts looks indecisive. And as you said, Dak Prescott looks unreal right now. I can't objectively say I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I have the Cowboys winning 28-24.
All right.
And I might get disowned by my in-laws. I'm like, this is like, I might get
we're in the media. We have to be objective.
I might get a lot of heat for this one. I've been bouncing back between being objective and not objective, but I'm starting to teeter back towards the objectivity without guest here.
It was really hard the line between the statistics and the results were completely different ends of the spectrum for so long that it made you believe that there was something special going on here. And maybe it's just a 1-week blip, and maybe we're overreacting with what we're saying here. But like I said, the history shows that the numbers prevail, and the numbers of what this team is probably more along the lines of a team that should be, would be 10-2 right now?
Yeah.
8-4, somewhere in those lines.
You kept saying it. It's not just the numbers; it's the product. Like we can see it on the field. They don't look like a 10-2 football team.
Right, 100% right. All right, so you got the Cowboys. You made me kind of lean that way the more that you talked about it. But I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'll go with the Birds this week. We do owe ourselves one more prediction. And I got some news for the fans out here. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about SeatGeek, our sponsor for tonight's show. Talked about it many times. If you need tickets to a game, go on SeatGeek and get them. It's the best deals in the area. You're going to a basketball game, a football game. You want to go see Arizona Fall League, go out there and go on SeatGeek, and they have the best deals on any events in your area. use the code 3Keystone, the number 3 Keystone, for $20 off your first purchase, and that will help you get into any game over at SeatGeek.
So here you go, Adam. Thursday, December 14th, 7 o'clock. Your Philadelphia Flyers are hosting the Washington Capitals. Cheapest tickets are $35. You know what that means? You're in the door for $15 that night. All right? What are you waiting for? Go catch yourselves. Get all fired up.
Go see Ovechkin. Ovechkin's still there?
Oh, my. Is he?
He got to be. I didn't hear him retiring.
He is. He's still playing. I mean, I don't know if he's like, hurt or anything.
Yeah, he can't be the guy. He's not the guy anymore, but he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Go see Coots.
So listen, we got to do our locks of the week, and we've been kind of doing them casually. I looked at the stats this week. We were both 8-5 on the year on our locks of the week. That's really, really good. You've hit 4 in a row, I believe.
All right, I'm not surprised.
Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's roll with these locks of the week. You hit us first.
All right, a little revival here. This one to me, I think, is an easy one because it is a dead trap line when I looked at it. And since we can take totals again for our best bets, I'm going with the Seattle San Fran under 46.5. That total just sounds so low when you think about two teams that just combined for 77 points last week. But that's what Vegas wants you to think. San Fran's coming off their Super Bowl. These offenses cannot keep up that pace. Public will think it's a low number, and they will get slammed betting the over. It's not going to be a repeat of the performances you just saw with Seattle against Dallas and San Fran against the Eagles. It's going to be an NFC West showdown type of game, a lot of hard-nosed defense. So give me the under 46.5.
I like it. Seattle's probably playing for their playoff lives.
They are. They absolutely are.
All right. I'm going to take another team playing for their playoff lives, and a team that showed me a lot this week. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals getting a point at home against the Indianapolis Colts. I did watch a little bit of that game last night. Browning was really, really good. And that Cincy team had every reason in the world to roll over and die after the Joe Burrow injury. But that's not what they did. Instead, it looked like a team that wants to go out and fight for a playoff spot, because if you look at the AFC wildcard right now, it's Indianapolis, it's Houston, it's Denver, it's another team out there at 7-5 that's not that good. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Teams that can be ripe for the picking. I think at this point, again, we have to move the bar based on our expectations, and a good season for Cincinnati at this point would be getting to the playoffs without Joe Burrow. For me, I look at Houston or Indianapolis, who they're playing. Indianapolis is coming in on a 4-game win streak. You might think this team is red hot. They've beaten Carolina, New England, Tampa Bay, and Tennessee. So let's not get overly crazy about what we got going on in Indianapolis. And Al, one other thing that we've learned, when Gardner Minshew puts together 3 or 4 really good games in a row, he falls hard.
Yeah.
You can only hide it for so long. So I can see a Gardner blow-up game, and they got to go into Cincy and win on the road. Give me the Bengals, who have a little more pedigree in my eyes, to beat the Colts this week, getting a point.
Dude, Browning looked good. I watched almost that whole game last night, man. That kid got a little moxie.
For the amount of terrible quarterback play that's in this league right now, Browning might be top 15 after last week.
Quick trivia for you. What's the lowest over-under of the week this week?
So there's 2 of them, I believe. So the Thursday night game is Patriots and Steelers, right? 30.5. Is that where it's still at?
So it's no longer 2. That game is now the lowest total. It is 29.5. This is an NFL game we're talking about. 29.5. You could tease that in a 10-point teaser and get over 19.5, and you'll probably still lose that bet. That's extraordinary, dude.
But to your point, also Jacksonville, Cleveland is also at 30.5.
Yeah.
These, again, we've talked all year about the quarterback play. To have totals in the NFL that are this low is embarrassing.
I can't believe what I'm seeing. 29.5 is insane.
And shout out Joe Flacco, showed a little signs of life for the Cleveland Browns this past weekend.
38-year-old.
God bless him. That shows how bad the quarterback play. That guy could come in and be better than the guys that they've had previously.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
All right, let's move on to segment 2. We're going to do something a little different for segment 2 here tonight. We're going to chop it up into 3 smaller segments, 5 to 7 minutes, because there's been a couple things that we wanted to talk about. I want to start with the college football playoff, Al. You had a tweet that went out there. You seem to be pretty passionate about what happened. So the final 4 teams in the college football playoff are going to be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and then Alabama gets the 4th seed by winning the SEC championship over Georgia, knocking out Florida State, who was 13-0 and won the ACC. There's been a lot of opinions on what should have happened, what could have happened, how it went down. Let me get your thoughts on A, how you feel about it, but B, who you think should be in.
I'm not a pro Florida State guy. I'm not an anti-SEC guy by any stretch. This is the most disgusting decision the NCAA has ever passed down. How can you sit there and take a one-loss major school over a team that went undefeated? You are telling Florida State and all other schools that your performance does not matter if Alabama wins the SEC or if Georgia wins the SEC. This was judged on what a group of old guys think Florida State is going to be able to do without their quarterback, their starting quarterback. All the work of all the other players and coaches, and Adam, you and I talk about it all the time, that football more than any other is a team sport. But guess what? That doesn't mean shit to the NCAA and to this stupid committee. If the argument is that Florida State just isn't as good right now and they're not better than Alabama, then why don't we just have Georgia in there as well? Because Georgia's better than half the teams in the college football playoff as well. Why are we lying to these kids? Why are we telling them that they can go out there and play football and win 13 games, win their conference, go undefeated, and have a chance to play for the national title when it's not true? It's such a disgusting decision. And I've been at my wit's end with the NCAA for years now. And this, for me, as a fan, and as most people know, as a Penn State fan, so I'm a fan of a team that generally does not have a chance to make it to the college football playoff every year. There's just no reason to watch it. There really is no reason to watch this sport when it's rigged. It's rigged in favor of the same 2 to 3 teams every season.
So I've thought about this long and hard, and you made a lot of good points. And to add some context to it, for those of you guys unaware, Florida State's starting quarterback was injured with 2 games left in the season, which is what drove voters from not putting them in because they didn't think they'd be as competitive.
And they admitted that, which is horrible. They admitted that.
So we need some clarification, and I think it's pretty obvious, but it's not stated out. Are we putting the best 4 teams in this moment in the field? Is that the goal of what we're doing? Or should we be putting the teams that deserve to be there in? Because it's 2 different answers at this point in time, and it's very, very clear if you look at the Vegas lines. Alabama is a 1-point dog against Michigan. If Florida State, who didn't get in, is a 13-point underdog against Georgia. So it's very clear which team is better at this point in the season. However, I'm on your side, Al. I think Florida State deserved a shot to get in. There's been plenty of times in history where teams have lost a quarterback. We know one very well, of the Philadelphia Eagles, and were written off and ended up putting it together because football can be more than a one-man show, especially at the college level. We saw Ohio State do it in 2014 down to their 3rd-string quarterback with Cardale Jones go on to win the national championship. And here's my question most of all, because, again, we see this SEC bias all the time. If the roles were reversed and Alabama was undefeated and lost their quarterback and Florida State was the one who won the big game, do you think that Florida State gets in and Alabama gets bounced?
We know the answer to that. There's not a shot in hell Alabama gets bounced.
100%.
It's the same. It's been the same rhetoric forever, man. It's so sickening. And you said it. It's either you're taking the best teams or the most deserving. And if you're not taking the most deserving, then what are we doing? Why are we playing a season?
Right.
What's the point?
That's a great point. And the funniest thing about it is they rank the top 4 teams, and then just for fun, they rank 5 and 6, and they put Florida State at 5 and Georgia at 6. Right. So how are you going to say that? So you're telling me that if it came down to Florida State and Georgia, they would have given it to Florida State in that situation?
Right.
But they're 13-point underdogs against Georgia.
It's completely bogus. And listen, I've heard people say, well, Florida State didn't play the same schedule. Florida State played whoever they scheduled LSU for the first game of the season.
They beat LSU. They beat them handily. They beat them handily. And by all means, the ACC was better than it usually is this year.
Absolutely.
I think the ACC was 6-4 against the SEC.
Yeah, and Clemson was down. They still went to Clemson and won. Duke was ranked when they beat them. Louisville was obviously ranked when they beat them. They did what they had to do, and they slaughtered a lot of teams this season. It sickens me as a fan of the sport that puts together the best product and environment in a live atmosphere. There's nothing like a college football game, in my opinion, and it just sucks knowing that, like, what's even the point? Why even go?
Now, with that said, we will get a better game on New Year's Day when we see Alabama play Michigan, most likely.
Alabama's better. They're a better team.
Yeah.
But I don't care. So is Georgia. Georgia is a better team than Washington. So I don't care. So what do we do? What are we doing here?
No, all fair points. I think the committee got it wrong. And luckily for you and the Penn State fans, we don't have to worry about it anymore because we go to a 12-team playoff next year. So you guys will be able to get in.
It doesn't even matter, dude. It's so broken. There's only 2 or 3 teams that have a chance to win any year. I don't know what we're doing with college football at this point.
College sports in general is just a giant mess. And the transfer portal has definitely, played a lot into that. And it's just not what it was, especially on the basketball side, which I know you're a bigger fan of. And so am I than college football itself.
The transfer portal is ruining college basketball and college sports in general. And it sucks because forever we've always the general fan of college sports has always said, why can't these kids transfer and play the next year? Why do they have to sit out a year? Coaches get to do it all the time. But now we kind of see maybe the foresight that the NCAA had, where now we have the turnover. Do you know how many Power 5 quarterbacks were in the portal as of yesterday morning, Monday morning?
Before ball games, there was I know Ohio State's quarterback was in there, McCord. I would say probably like 8, 9.
Right after McCord announced, I looked up the number. Power 5 only, 36 quarterbacks are in the transfer portal. There's another 22 from the non-Power 5 schools. This is a friggin' joke.
It's like in Madden if you just did a fantasy draft every year.
Every year, dude. And listen, as a fan of Penn State basketball, our team this year from last year, 2 kids are back. It's an entirely new team. I have no idea who's on the team.
Yep, it's impossible to build a team. And again, I followed Division II with Chestnut Hill, and we get in freshmen, and it's like, I don't know how long they're going to be there.
Right. You don't want to invest anything into these kids. And with NIL's made it worse. And now, did you see today they were talking about how now colleges themselves are actually going to be able to give out the NIL money? I mean, we all know they're giving it out under the table anyway, but they're going to legally be able to give athletes NIL money now to get.
I didn't see that, but that was just a matter of time, obviously.
It's all broken. It sucks. I just hope that they never mess with March Madness. Just keep March Madness what it is, please.
We will see. I'm sure something will be changing in the future. All right, let's jump on. We have a couple of topics we wanted to get to. John Rahm. We haven't talked golf on this pod in a while.
Your boy.
We haven't talked golf on this pod in a while.
I'll tell you what, this has me hyped for golf, man, because I'm always out of it around this time of the year, but this has me in it.
John Rahm, the rumors are flying. It's almost all but confirmed that he will be moving over to LIV shortly. A deal over $500 million is what I saw as recently as a few minutes ago. This changes the landscape of everything that's going on. That's for sure.
I don't necessarily agree with that unless Rahm has been on record as saying he wouldn't go to LIV, and the number one reason he wouldn't go is because he didn't like the format. And I think the format is a huge detriment to LIV being able to gain actual viewers of its product because it does suck. It's not a good format. 54 holes is shit. The team play is shit. No one cares about it. If they can find a way to fix the format, then I think, yes, this does change the landscape. But as far as the PGA Tour goes, John Rahm is just another cog in the machine. I mean, we're still gonna watch the PGA Tour. We're not gonna watch LIV because John Rahm left. You might. He's your boy. You might.
I do. I think John Rahm's the best player in the world. Here's my concern here, Al. A few months ago, we talked about the PGA and the PIF combining to make a deal to eventually the PIF was going to fund the PGA Tour. That deal's not complete yet.
Right.
And I don't know if John Rahm goes over to LIV, if PIF tells PGA Tour to stick it at this point. And where does the PGA Tour go from there? They don't have the funds to compete. And right. if all of a sudden they're snagging some of the best golfers in the world and they can bring a couple more over, what's to stop them from just taking the PGA Tour out at this point?
The product. That's all it is the product. They have to fix their product.
And they can do that. That's not hard.
Well, then do it. If they do it, then we can sit here and we can have a whole different conversation. But I'm not ready to admit defeat for the PGA Tour yet because that's a huge gap.
All I'm saying is it gives PIF the leverage to pull out of that deal if they want to.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's still probably they need a few more guys because when you look at, I follow LIV on social and they posted something where they had like their guys that were fighting to get a spot this year. And oh boy, that list was bleak. That list was a bunch of names. Nobody has any idea who these guys are.
I get that. But what I'm saying is if PGA Tour needs the funds at this point. That's why they made the deal with PIF. So if PIF pulls out of that deal, PGA Tour still needs to find funding somewhere. And what investment fund is going to want to go up against the PIF and just spend money to spend money?
Yeah.
So
in that sense, you're right.
I'm very curious as to how this thing all ends up playing out, because if Rahm, and that's why I think maybe this deal hasn't been announced, is maybe they're just leaking this rumor to help leverage that deal a little bit more. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I'm not mad at Jon Rahm, because the way this thing has played itself out and the way the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan handled the entire thing was kind of bogus. So shout out to him for going to get the bag. I'm very curious to see his comments, because he's been very straightforward and open and honest about how he felt about LIV in the past. And he's not one to shy away. Like, he's going to tell you how he feels or why he did it.
I want to hear something though out of your mouth. I was right all along about LIV and these guys taking the money. I was on that from day one. I said that all these guys should take the money. We talked about if our kids were offered a deal with LIV or potentially to go to Q school, and I said I would tell Jackson to go to LIV.
No, I hear you on that. But
give me my flowers, damn it. And then we can
move on. It's a lot easier to say that now when you know that these guys have access to the majors and they'll be able to play in those big events. Rahm has amnesty to the Masters for life. He's got a U.S. Open, so he can play in the U.S. Open for 20 years or whatever it is. And the other ones, I think he has 4 or 5 year exemption. So he doesn't have to worry about that. So
no, I'm just saying, with the way this all played out, those guys should have taken the money from day one. There's no
you're right.
Who cares about it being, quote, blood money and all that stuff? They should have just taken the money and shored up what Brooks Koepka said is generational wealth now for his grandkids. No one in that family has to worry about money.
Yeah, but again, like, I don't know if I hear you, but I don't know if Jon Rahm's kids were ever going to have to worry about money anyway, because he was going to do fine. Some of these lower level guys, yeah, for sure, take the money.
Jon Rahm's kids weren't going to have to, but like his grandkids' kids might have had to, and like his, now it's like his whole family's grandkids, everyone, the extended family, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, no one.
You worried about your grandkids? I ain't worried about them.
The Tias and the Tios, but I just think it's irresponsible to not take that deal if it's presented to you.
If you heard me hesitate a little bit on that last question, you were, Al, because I was watching Jalen Brunson get his 6th assist of the night, which, if you're following us on Twitter and on Instagram where I post the player picks, we're getting hot again. So make sure you're following us along on our social media sites for those picks if you like to bet on the NBA.
My lotto didn't do too well tonight, but
That's right. It's a lotto ticket, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't expect much from that, guys.
One last topic for topic 2 before we change is also golf related. The USGA has proposed and likely will approve the ball reduction. So basically flight restricted balls that will go into play to 2028 for the PGA professionals or for tournament play. And then 2030, it will go into play for all golfers. So you will be playing the flight restricted balls. Does this change your opinion on golf or how you're going to play golf, or what are your thoughts? Are you mad about it?
Dude, with my swing, I might as well be playing those balls already, dude.
Playing the low burners.
It's not going to affect me. Maybe I'll just have to move up to the ladies' tees at this point. I don't know, man. The only thing that pisses me off about this is that golf is trying to solve a problem that wasn't a problem to begin with. And I get why the USGA and the R&A want to kill distance, and it's because guys are hitting the ball so far that accuracy off the tee no longer matters. Courses are not equipped to keep these guys from putting up these scores over a course of 4 days, 18 under, 22 under. And more than anything, the USGA's beloved US Open has just been getting destroyed lately by these long hitters. So, look, to me, is it going to make a difference? It's not. It doesn't matter what ball I play. I just think that they're trying to solve a problem that wasn't there. They're punishing the athletes for getting better. Should we start using double rims in the NBA because guys all of a sudden are able to shoot the three better than they ever have been before? The dead ball in baseball almost killed baseball. Should we make Tyreek Hill play in flip-flops? Like, I just think that you're penalizing the players for getting better.
Is it the players or is it the equipment, though?
But the players are still putting the work in the sports science. Look at guys these days. They're actual athletes.
No, there's no question. And, yeah, it does. It sucks for the amateur golfer because, personally, golf is a hard enough game as is. And all of a sudden, if you're going to make guys swing a club, maybe 2 clubs longer, on certain shots, it's going to slow pace down. It's going to make scores go higher. That's just the way it is. But I understand it from this perspective. And this is where I think the reason that they're going to drive this on the recreational golfer is I'm sure it came from the ball manufacturers. And the ball manufacturers were probably like, okay, so you want us to research, develop, do all this stuff to develop these flight restricted balls for the professionals who really aren't paying for their balls anyway. So we're driving all this money and then we're getting what for it? Like if you're going to think we're going to develop all these balls, we're selling them all to the public. That's where I think
you think they're in on it.
Oh, they have to be. Or why wouldn't they just be like, fuck you, we're not making these balls. Like why are we going to lose a ton of money making these flight restricted golf balls?
My initial reaction was that it's more of just everyone else is against it because you can't change every course to fit now the mold of guys driving the ball 320, 330, but you can just change the balls.
But at your local municipal course, your private club, like distance is not an issue.
Oh no, I'm talking about for the pros. I'm not talking
about the pros. I get it. I get it for the pros. And it is what it is. But I'm just saying for the recreational golfer, like that's not a distance issue out there.
No, absolutely not. And the local guy, I mean, even if it is an issue, they'll just move the tees up. Now with the balls rolling back, they can just move the tees up. It's not. No, I agree.
And look, in 2030, who the hell knows where we're going to be at that point in time?
Going to be old.
What episode will be on?
Going to be old. I don't know. What's that? 7 years from now? 7 times 50 something?
7 times 50, 350 plus
430 something?
Yeah. Coming in on episode 500.
Will guest be back? That's the question.
Twins will be in second grade by then.
20, 30. Sheesh.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
45 years old, brother.
Yeah. Anything else on the golf before you want to roll it over? We're coming up a couple weeks from the Tournament Champions.
Dude, I love it. One of my favorite tournaments of the year, man. I love it. I can't wait.
Yep. All right. If that's it, we'll jump into segment 3. We've been kind of roundtabling segment 3 a little bit, so we're going to do something a little more sports related and do some reminiscing. We're going to play the name game, right, Al?
Yeah, I think this will be fun. It's the name 3. So the way it works is one of us will say a team, any franchise from any sport, and the other person just has to name 3 players that come to mind. And it doesn't have to be the best players of all time. It could just be 3 guys that stand out. It could be, you could be trying to get some what you guys like to call the bust outs. Maybe it's 3 of just your personal favorites. Maybe it's a guy or 2 that you just have a memory about. And just riff. We'll just riff about, those guys and what we remember about them and, what made them great or what made them not so great.
Love it. So why don't you hit me with a team first?
All right. We are going to start in the NFL. Let's start with the Atlanta Falcons. Give me 3.
Okay, so these are the first 3 names that pop into my head.
Yeah. Or even just like the 3, yeah. Let's go with first 3 names that pop in your head.
Okay. Michael Vick's obviously the first one that pops in your head when you think Atlanta Falcons. I don't know how you could go otherwise other than that. My second one is Jamal Anderson.
Okay. For your third one, I would say maybe if you take a bust out, that's okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be the third person.
My third one's going to be Gary Anderson, who didn't even play for the Falcons. So this takes us back to one of your probably horrid memories, I got to think. You were a big Minnesota Vikings guy.
Yeah, yep.
So for those of you guys who don't remember or were too young, I want to say it was the 99 season.
Yep.
Vikings are 15-1, the greatest offense that we've ever seen at that point in time. Randall Cunningham on his way to an MVP season. Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Robert Smith, running over everybody.
Jake Reed,
that's a good name.
3 deep.
Gary Anderson, the kicker for the Vikings, has not missed a kick the entire season. He's perfect on extra points. He's perfect on field goals. Playing the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship game, has a chance to ice the game and misses, I think it was like a 38-yard kick
short one
inside.
Yep.
Falcons come down and tie the game. They win it in overtime. They end up going to the Super Bowl and losing to the Denver Broncos. You know who the Falcons quarterback was?
Crystal Chandelier.
Chris Chandler. That's a good pull. And that's one of that. I remember that game, the Dirty Bird.
Yep.
Jamal Anderson was a monster. That was like the best year of his career by far. Kind of fell off into the map for that. But the Dirty Bird was awesome. I remember going out playing football later that afternoon, doing the Dirty Bird.
Yeah.
I was all falconed up, man.
We all did it. That was 8th grade. We all did it. Every time we played football, everybody was doing the Dirty Bird.
those are my three. Again, Michael Vick was, when he came out, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about just an all-time game-changing athlete. I mean, he changed the NFL.
Especially Madden. Remember how
Changed
unstoppable he
Madden.
was in Madden, dude?
Unstoppable. Probably, do you think he's the most unstoppable football, like video game athlete in all? I think he probably, it's like him. I know a lot of people always like to say Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl, but that's a little before our time.
Yeah.
Vic
Yeah,
was
outside of Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey baseball, when you could put in the code and he hit a homer every time.
You used to play a season in that. I remember you were like 162-0, weren't you?
Yeah, I would beat team. I scored 100 runs once.
That's ridiculous. I just remember Vic, though, you could run back and forth over and over again, and you couldn't catch him, and he wouldn't get tired.
Yeah, he just couldn't complete a pass because his accuracy was so terrible, though.
Yeah.
And who was my first, or my other one was Jamal Anderson, who I mentioned. Those were the first three games. Do you have any other ones?
No. Go ahead. No, we'll go to the next one because we can sit here and both do each one. But I've already thought about these teams.
Okay. So I have for you, I'll go baseball. I have the Cleveland Guardians, but we can say Cleveland Indians. You can go back in the past too. I know who your first one's going to be.
So it's got to be my man, the fastest man on the planet, Kenny Lofton.
That was your boy.
I can go so many ways with this, but I'll go. How about Carlos Baerga?
Okay, same era.
Yeah, same team. And then how about we go Sandy Alomar Jr. behind the plate?
Damn, you didn't want to go Joe Table?
Didn't want to go Joe Table. Didn't want to go Manny. Didn't want to go Jim Thome. Didn't want to go David Justice.
Right.
Didn't want to go. Was it Charles Nagy? Was he on that
Charles
team?
Nagy. You have Jarrett Wright.
Jarrett Wright, stud.
Oral Hershiser.
Or I never liked Oral Hershiser.
How many teams for Kenny Lofton can you name?
I don't know if I can name them, but the over-under's got to be like 10.5.
11, not counting. Oh, I got to recount. I don't know if I counted teams twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Oh, that's some excellent. Listen, 10.5. What? That's a dead on line.
How many can you name?
Not many, dude. I'm not.
Go
gonna
ahead. Hit
the
hit me
Phillies.
with some. Huh?
The Phillies.
Yep. He actually hit 335 for the Phillies.
Here's my problem. Let me pull up the teams in Major League Baseball. That's part of the.
I should have been the one. Doing this.
You should have. All right. The Phillies. Was he on the Tigers?
No Tigers.
Twins?
I'm gonna give you 3 strikes. Who's the other one?
Oh wait, hold on. Wait, let me go more.
I'm gonna give you the Indians because I don't know if we're assuming that or not. Obviously,
yeah, we have to assume that the Braves, the Phillies.
Braves are correct.
The
Braves was really weird. Like he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons in Cleveland, got traded to the Braves, and then the next season he was back in Cleveland.
The Cubs.
Cubs is correct.
The Dodgers.
Dodgers correct. That's 6.
The Giants.
Giants is 7.
Oh man, now I'm running dry here a little bit.
Yeah, you got a lot of the easy ones.
Let's say the Rangers.
Rangers is 8.
Let's say the Yankees.
Yeah, you got his thing.
No, I don't. Dude, I swear to God, I'll share my screen right now. What was that?
9?
The White Sox.
You definitely have his thing.
Dude. I'll share my
You're
screen.
lying.
I'll share my screen right now. How do I share my screen?
No, I don't want to see it. I know you're lying.
That's 10. Give me the Athletics.
No, yeah, that's a good sell by you. It really is.
Is that strike 2? Give me the Pirates.
Yeah, good one.
Dude, I'm taking a picture of my freaking screen right now. I did not have. This is what I had. The MLB standings.
This is the most egregious thing that we've ever seen.
Get out of here, dude! I'm a Kenny Lofton ultra fan.
Oh my!
What was the team I missed?
You got them all. You got them all.
Oh, I thought I missed one.
No, you got them all.
Fantastic job by me.
Yeah, no doubt. Why don't you close the baseball reference page? Hide the tab.
Get out of here, man.
That was so egregious,
man. Trivia champ. The new trivia champ of the 3K pod.
Unbelievable. So for me, I'll give a quick story. So I did a road trip when I was like 22 to like a bunch of ballparks in the Midwest. And I would buy the t-shirt jersey of the randomest player that I could find in the team shop. So we went to Jacobs Field. I think it was still Jacobs at the time. It's Progressive now. And I got myself a Ryan Garko.
Oh boy.
Classic.
Such a seltzer player too, dude.
Yeah. That was all right. So hit me with the next one.
All right, let's go round ball. Let's go with the Golden State Warriors.
I'm going to try and I'm going to give you the first ones. The first name that hit my mind was Latrell Sprewell.
All right.
Obviously, plays for them, gets kicked or not kicked out, gets suspended, and then traded after he choked his coach in practice, PJ Carlissimo. Baron Davis.
B. Diddy.
That Oakland team, that was one of the wildest playoff series I ever remember.
8-1.
They were the 8 seed. They played the Dallas Mavericks, and Dallas couldn't match up with them.
They were electric, dude.
It was Baron Davis, Steven Jackson, and they had another guard. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, I was gonna name. I think they had a white dude. I don't want to name him though.
Dunleavy. The Warriors that beat.
I'm just gonna name him. Didn't they have Andres Biedrins on that team?
Hey, I do think he was on that team. I don't think he played a major role. I'm pulling up the.
Oh, dude, they had the Mississippi Bullet. They had Monte Ellis.
I think that's before. I think it's before Monte Ellis.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. Hold on. Western Conference first round. Warriors versus Mavericks. Let's just pull up Game 6 box score.
You know, people always say that the '90s had great nicknames. The Mississippi Bullet is a fantastic nickname.
Oh no, so Biedrin started on that team.
Yeah, dude, I know that.
Baron Davis, Jason Richardson. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. Monte Ellis was off the bench. He only played like 15 minutes.
Dude, still 6-man.
Baron Davis, 38 minutes. Jason Richardson, 41. Matt Barnes, 42. Steven Jackson, 43.
I remember that place rocking.
Steven Jackson, 7 for 8 from 3 in the clincher.
Wow.
Can you name me how many guys do you think you name me on that Mavs team, that 1 seed?
Dirk.
There are a couple other ones that are gettable.
What year was that even?
07.
07. Was Jason Terry on that team at that
Jet
point?
was on that team. There might be one other guy you can get. Now you're getting into.
Was Finley still around at that point?
No, Finley was gone.
Juan Barea, JJ Barea.
Nah, he's not there.
All right, I got nothing.
I got Josh Howard.
I wasn't getting that.
Devin Harris.
Oh, okay.
Desanya Jop. That was the starting 5.
All right.
And then off the bench, Jerry Stackhouse.
Okay.
Devin George, Sixer killer.
God, Devin George.
Austin Crozier.
Hated Devin George.
Greg Buckner, former Sixer.
Oh,
and last but not least, Michigan State's finest, Maurice Ager.
Oh, you loved him.
No, I'll get out of here.
Was he on Mateen Cleaves' team?
I think that's probably the same time frame. I think you're in the right era there. Maybe just after Mateen.
I think that was the championship team.
All right, so I owe you one more Warrior. You have to go Curry. I think that's the first one to pop into your head. But if I had to think, I'm trying to think of some other ones like Chris Mullen or Tim Hardaway.
Run TMC, Hardaway.
Yeah,
and
you can always go there. But those are the 3 that pop out first for me. I'm surprised you went with them because of their success now that you wanted to throw them out there as a team name.
I just like so many of those names from the past that you just named.
All right, I'll go round ball with you too. Let's go Washington Wizards.
All right, Gil Zero, Gilbert Arenas. Let's go with shit. Let's go with George Murasan. And let's go with Rod Strickland.
Those are good ones. I pulled up some Gilbert Arenas stuff. Also a Warrior at one point in time.
Yeah, he started there.
Yes, so this is when the NBA had a weirder CBA and second round picks only got 2-year contracts. So he was a second round pick and then left. He was, dude, from age 23 through 25, Gilbert Arenas was 25 points per game, 29 points per game, 28 points per game. And that's in the era where they weren't scoring that much. He was really, really good
He was
for
amazing.
a long period of time. And then his knees just got fucked up.
He was, I mean, he was almost like a bigger bodied Dame because he would drill those threes from like 27 feet out, man.
Yeah, he was a little bit of a gunner, but when he got hot, dude.
Yeah, he was unstoppable when he was on. He was fun to watch.
They had some really good series with early like first round series with young LeBron. They never won any, but they were always good battles.
Yeah, I couldn't name anybody else on those teams.
On those Warriors teams or the Wizards teams?
Yeah.
They're like Antoine Jameson, Caron Butler.
That's a distant memory for me, dude.
Yeah, I don't remember who some of the other guards were, but yeah, those were the biggest three guys on that squad.
Yeah, because that was during like college, and like the Sixers were kind of trash again. Like I was kind of out in the NBA at that point.
Yeah, that's when I was definitely more college than I was.
Yeah,
with NBA. All right, those are your whiz.
All right. Do you want me to go hockey?
You can try. I'll do my best.
All right, I got one that I think you might be able to get three on though. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
So there's two that I got three here. There's two that pop off right off the page. It's Paul Kariya and Teemu Selanne.
Yep.
Because they played together and they were fantastic. I do remember one game when ESPN had National Hockey Night. I think they were playing the Blackhawks and Kariya got murdered. I think he got stretchered off with a concussion. And then you got to go John Sebastian Giguère, dude.
That's the three. That's the three.
There's no Giguère had that epic playoff run for the Ducks, beating the Red Wings. But outside of that, dude, I don't have much information of those three guys other than their names. And I mean, Selanne and Kariya were all-time greats.
Yeah, well done. That's the three I had. I don't know if I can name any more than those three, to be honest.
Charlie Conway.
Dude, how overrated was Adam Banks?
No, how overrated was Conway?
No, Banks was so over. Dude, Banks was such a bitch.
Dude, Banks
was stay on the ice.
Dude, he got cheap shot in the championship game.
I don't care. You got to get back on the ice.
Let me tell you this: Did you ever watch D3 when they go to like the boarding school?
I have, but not in forever.
Okay, so Conway is this. I've read this on Twitter one time. Conway is the star of that team.
Yeah.
But if you watch the first two movies, Conway only had 2 goals the entire 2 movies. So how did all of a sudden he become the star?
He was always like the star in waiting, I thought, behind Banks.
No, he literally sat out the one game because he would be best for the team because he wanted to be a coach.
Let me ask you this. Who are you taking, Julie the Cat or Goldberg?
Goldberg's a veteran. Cat made one save and she got she had the quick glove hand.
Biggest save of the game, biggest save of her life.
Who did she stone on the shootout?
Gunnar
Stahl.
Let's go shake their hands.
Yeah, Wolf the Dentist Stenson.
What a great nickname.
The Dentist. Oh, dude, they're great movies. D1 are you watching the first one or the second one?
So I haven't watched D1 either. I actually sat Jackson down and we watched D2 together not long ago, maybe in the summertime. I got to be honest, it wasn't as entertaining as I remembered. There was lots of just like long drawn out parts where they were doing the whole like Emilio Estevez might be like turning thing, like that whole storyline. And it kind of took away from the overall just entertainment value of the movie.
Interesting. I gotta give it another watch. It is wild that they were playing in the junior Goodwill games and they're putting a guy on their roster who can't stop. Like we'll take this guy.
Benny the Jet.
No, that's Luis Mendoza, dude.
Yeah, Benny the Jet from Sandlot. It's the same dude.
I don't think I ever put that together.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
That's it. I tell you what, I gotta take one thing from this podcast. That's it.
There you go.
Benny the Jet is Luis Mendoza.
Yeah.
My. All right, I'll give you your hockey one. This might be tough. I thought it was pick one. I'm gonna go Dallas Stars.
Well, there's obviously the best hair in hockey, Mike Modano.
Yeah. Also, a cameo in the Mighty Ducks, the first one.
I don't remember. I haven't seen the first one in so long.
So that's when they were in Minnesota. They were the North Stars, and they were the Minnesota Hockey League. And they go to the rink, and Modano's there with somebody else. I don't remember who it is.
Okay. Now listen, I think I have the goalie from the OOs. I think it was Marty Turco. No, you can look that up. I think it was.
Why don't you look it up? Because I know you're known for your cheating.
My hands are right here. I'm going to keep my hands up, and then I think
Marty Turco played 9 seasons with the Dallas Stars.
Damn right he did. And then look up Yari Lettinen. I think Yari Lettinen was on the Dallas Stars.
No, I think Yari Lettinen was an Avalanche. I don't even know how to spell that. Yuri Letnin. Hockey reference. Probably first time I've been on this page. No, Dallas Star. You're right. Entire career.
I'm crushing this segment, dude.
That's
We gotta
great
do
work
this.
by you.
We gotta do this.
I was going to
more
say maybe drop a Joe Newendike.
Joe Newen, like he was a big star up in Calgary.
Was Ed Belfour there for a while too?
He might have been. Maybe
Who was
maybe
their goalie in the
Grant
in
Belfour.
No, Grant Balfour was a pitcher, you idiot.
I know. For Frankie had a Joe Newendike jersey.
That's wild. Yeah, Belfour was in Dallas after Chicago for a couple years. And I think this Jamie Langenbrunner may have been a star as well.
Oh, yeah, he was good for them. I remember playing with him in Sticks in NHL 08 or whatever year I played it.
Let's pull up. We're really getting into the hockey here.
I love
Dallas Stars. And then he was a Devil for a little while. All right,
Okay.
that's good knowledge. That's good knowledge there from us. Yuri Letnin and Marty Turco. I don't remember Marty Turco at all.
Dude, Turco played, and there was like an era in those 00s where like there was so many good goalies just across the league, and he was one of them.
Hockey used to be really nice. I used to really like hockey.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. All right, let's go college. I pulled a college team for you, and there's going to be plenty to choose from. This isn't a hard one. Give me UConn basketball.
So many. So the first one is a guy that I thought was going to be an all-star in the NBA multiple times, Jeremy Lamb.
Ooh.
I remember watching him in college, thinking he was the smoothest guard I'd seen in a long time. But you know what I do with UConn, and I'll get into some other players in a little bit. I always mix up the Kemba Walker run and the Shabazz Napier run.
We did that in that trivia that we did a few months back. We were screwing those up. I remember.
They were so similar.
Yeah, it was the same run. It was the same exact thing. Yeah. Kemba was the 7 overtime run, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll also go Emeka Okafor because that's our prime college basketball viewing experience. And then I gotta go with my boy Josh Boone. Him and I were Facebook friends back in the day. Then he got drafted to my New Jersey Nets as a first round pick. Probably turned out to be an NBA bust, I would have to say. But Josh Boone was a good college player.
Yeah, he was nasty, dude. He was good. I like Josh Boone.
He could rebound. And that was the team that lost to George Mason. But they had Marcus Williams, who I always thought sucked, and he did suck when he got to the NBA, but he was stealing laptops. And then they had like the Rashad Anderson and a couple other. I think Rudy Gay or Villanueva. That's another guys I mix up.
That's fantastic UConn knowledge by you. I would have dropped the 99 team, 98 team.
With
Rip, Khalid, and Jake Voskuhl. Big man, the big stiff.
Well, I just got a text. I don't know if we're seeing our viewers on here from Liam, who says Stanley Robinson with an exclamation point.
Stanley Robinson.
Liam, use the chat feature, my man.
What do you
remember
do?
Stanley Robinson?
What do we got? No. What do you do?
Big lanky guy for UConn.
I don't remember Stanley Robinson.
Probably 2012-ish.
How to remember him?
He may have died too. He did die.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, he made the league. He was at UConn. Let me see what years he was at UConn. 2006 and 2010. Second round pick. Didn't play much in the league, but yeah, long lanky dude. He was solid.
All right.
I got a football one for you since I didn't get a football one. I have the New York Jets.
The New York Jets. All right. We're going to go with Chad Pennington.
Noodle arm.
No arm whatsoever, dude. Owes Randy Moss's paycheck. I'm trying to think of let's go with Curtis Martin. Let's give Curtis Martin his due. And how about Wayne Corbett?
Come on, man. You didn't give me the damn ball. You didn't want to go Keyshawn?
I should have went Keyshawn. I blanked on the Jets. That's a tough one.
Corbett's a good one. I would have probably gone Corbett too. He was such a journeyman.
Yeah, could have went Santana Moss too, right?
Santana Moss. I always think Santana Moss Redskins, but he was a Jet.
Yeah, so
I associate him more Redskin.
He was better with the Redskins?
I think so, yeah.
Had his better seasons there?
Yeah. About like Lamont Jordan. Remember Lamont Jordan?
Yeah, what a name. Wasn't he on the Raiders too, Lamont Jordan?
Yeah, he had better years on the Raiders, but he started on the Jets.
Yeah.
I think, and like a Lavernius Coles. That's another Redskin
Oh,
Jet.
that's a seltzer. That is a
No,
seltzer.
I was never a Lavernius Coles.
Love Lavernius. Let me ask you this, and I'm not Googling it. How do you spell Lavernius? How do you spell his name?
L-A-V. Well, Google it so you can check me here.
Nah, dude, I know it.
Laverneus is what it feels like, but that's not right. What? Are you going to answer it?
Well, I didn't know if you were still guessing.
Yeah, I'm done.
There's a sneaky A in there. It's Lavereaneus.
I was close.
Sneaky A.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Lavernius Coles should be spelled
Lavernius.
without an A.
About Brian Cox. You remember Brian Cox? He was a Dolphin for a while. Linebacker, had that big neck thing.
Yeah, I was going to say the neck thing.
Yeah, that's all I remember him for, the big neck thing. Could also go to Revis
Island. Yeah. All right.
Mike Nugent.
I'm going to go another outside the box one here. I'm going to stick with college basketball. I'm just going to give you mid-major basketball.
Oh, that's so broad.
Give me mid. But that's why though, because what if I give you like friggin', I can't even think of a team right now.
Eric Maynor, first name that popped into my head.
Ooh, VCU, 94 feet of hell or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Eric Maynor is the first name to pop into my head. Then I've got to go with, oh my God, there's so many tournament legends that I just have to kind of funnel through. Cleanthony Early. You remember Cleanthony Early? Wichita State.
You can name like that whole starting lineup.
My boy Van Vliet. And the white boy Baker.
Ron Baker, bucket maker.
Yep. Does the A10 counts as mid-major?
Yeah.
I got to go with my boy, one of my favorite college players of all time, Justin Dolman. I don't know if you remember Justin Dolman, though.
Who the hell's that?
He was on Xavier. So I went to a game. We were in college, and I went to a game with guests, Temple and Xavier. And this dude was a freshman, and he lit them up. He was just a shooter, like 6'8", didn't do nothing. Are you loading something up here?
Me? No.
Something just popped. I may have just pressed a button on my thing. Google Justin Dolman. Doellman.
DOEL?
2 L's. MAN.
I got it. I got you. Who the hell?
He was a sharpshooter, dude.
Who the hell is this dude?
Played 4 years at Xavier, averaged 10 and 5 per game. Was a part of a team that I'll never forget the game. They played Ohio State in the second round of the 2007 NCAA tournament when Ohio State had Oden and Conley, and they had them beat.
I remember that.
And they blew it at the end of the game, but Greg Oden at the end of the game is fouling, because intentionally fouling, and absolutely throws a guy into the sideline. And they should have called not a flagrant, but an intentional for college. They don't call it, and they just call it a regular one. I think they go 1 out of 2, and then I think the guy Gerard Butler for Ohio State, he was a senior guard, hits a long three to tie the game.
The white kid,
overtime,
right?
Huh?
The white kid, right?
No, black guy.
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
Makes the 3 to send it to overtime, and Ohio State goes on to win, and then goes on to the national championship. I was heartbroken that day.
Yeah, I remember that game against Ohio State. Dude, Oden and Conley. Conley was so good, man. So good. I've always liked Conley, despite being the Ohio State guy.
I'm Googling that box score. Xavier versus Ohio State 2007 NCAA tournament.
You didn't want to give me Dougie McBuckets?
I thought about him, actually. He was in my head.
He's like
I also thought about Jimmer.
Yeah, Jimmer.
So the final score was 70. Final score was 78-71 in overtime. Xavier squad was, I'm going to give you some names. Drew Lavender. You remember Drew Lavender?
Great, dude.
Except he went 2 for 13 in this game. Justin Dolman had 13 and 7, solid. Stanley Burrell, Josh Duncan. And then Ohio State was Conley. Jamar Butler was the guy who hit the 3. Ron Lewis, Greg Oden, Ivan Harris. They really didn't have much else other than those 2 guys. Lighty.
What did Ron Lewis do? Remember Gus Johnson had a big Ron Lewis call in that tournament.
Maybe so. He had 27 and 8 in this game.
Okay.
But yeah, so you got any other mid majors? I mean, Van Vliet comes to mind. You have all the Gonzaga guys, the Dan Dickals. I didn't want to go there.
Who was the white kid that played with Steph at Davidson?
I don't remember that.
Remember Jason Richards?
I don't remember him at all.
He was good. He was your typical, just like, white guy that could pass and shoot a three.
What about, do you remember Taylor Coppenrath?
Taylor Coppenrath, was that? Yeah. Hold on. What team was he? He was on, was he, shit. Hold on. Oh, man. Dude, I want to say like North Dakota, but that's not right.
You're in you're in the ballpark, but you're not anywhere geographically close.
No, but I just say it because I'm
Vermont.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, they beat Syracuse.
Yeah.
Him and they had TJ Sorrentine, I think, was the point guard on that team.
TJ Sorrentine, that's a good pull.
Nick Fizakis was on Nevada, is another name of a guy I think of. There's so many you can go back to when you start to think of some of the other tournaments.
So fun to do.
I mean, you can say Steph. Steph was obviously an obvious one that you could have brought up.
Yep. You can say Dame.
Yeah.
I don't even think Weber State's a mid-major, though. They're a...
Yeah, but and then like Dame wasn't anybody in college. Like he was good, but like you didn't see him.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to think if I can give you one more good name before I'll think about it as we go. Let me give you one last one and then we'll wrap it up. Give me UCLA.
Basketball?
Yeah.
Your boy Jordan Farmar.
That's first one that popped in my head too.
Tyus Edney, was he UCLA?
No, I think he beat UCLA. He's Missouri, wasn't he?
That's what I'm thinking of. I think, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I think he beat UCLA.
Lonzo.
Yeah.
I hate UCLA, dude.
They were good for a long time in the mid 2000s. They got a lot of guys.
Aaron Aflalo.
Yeah, Aaron Aflalo, Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Could have gone Ed O'Bannon if you wanted to go back far enough.
Yeah, I just hate UCLA. I've never paid attention to them. Even
Great
when they're
color
good.
scheme.
Great color scheme. Great color scheme. All right, my last one. This
you could also go into all the holidays went there, I think.
Yeah, that's true. This is the fun one. WWE Intercontinental Champions.
Dean Douglas. You remember that?
Who was gifted the title because Razor Ramon couldn't wrestle. Right?
Shawn Michaels couldn't wrestle. That was when he got beat up, or he lost his smile, or he got beat up in the club.
No, that definitely wasn't the Lost to Smile. Lost to Smile, he was like a world title.
Okay, so this was when he got beat up in that Syracuse nightclub. I actually was reading about that a couple weeks ago. So he was like talking off to all these like Marines and shooting the shit and causing trouble. And he got his ass beat in the parking lot and had a concussion. But then Dean Douglas fights Razor Ramon that night and loses the title. Okay. Let's go Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, man. One of my
1995.
Favorites. One of my favorites.
I was heartbroken when he won the title.
Really? I loved Jeff Jarrett, dude. I was big.
In the first time he beat Razor in Royal Rumble 95.
Yeah, I was already on the Double J trade.
So I had just gotten into wrestling. And so my first pay-per-view I ever watched, Rob Medlock, shout out Rob if he's listening, SummerSlam 94. Okay. Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Okay.
So I was still fresh in wrestling. I wasn't on the spot where you liked heels. Like I was still rooting for all the faces. And I just couldn't believe they made Jeff Jarrett beat Razor Ramon. That was insane to me. So those are my first two. And then I will also go with Val Venus, I think, had the Intercontinental title at some point in time.
All right.
You think am I right about that?
He definitely did.
Okay. Let's go Val Venus. Hello, ladies.
When I think of the Intercontinental title, I think of one person. It's Razor. I think of Razor Ramon as the when I think of the Intercontinental champ.
Yeah, he's the quintessential. Him and maybe Ravishing Rick.
Oh man, dude, you ever watch any of his old promos?
not regularly.
Oh my god, dude, he was so good on the mic, but he always just said the same thing in the beginning. I mean, they all do, but oh, you fat, disgusting California sweat hogs!
Yeah,
want to see what a real man looks like.
That's so funny. That's so true. You got any other ones?
Remember the Road Dogg had a run with the Intercontinental title? Remember it was a weird switch where like it looked like he was going to win the hardcore belt and
Billy
Billy
Gunn.
Gunn was going to win the Intercontinental, and they switched it for some reason.
Yeah, that was weird.
Remember when D'Lo Brown held?
I was going to say D'Lo is my third one.
Yeah,
D'Lo is my god.
And European at the same time. You're looking at the real deal now.
Yeah, the Eurocontinental, he called it.
Yep. The Godfather.
Yeah.
Godfather was Intercontinental
You're
champ.
going down the same train, though. No pun intended.
Who else? I mean, Triple H. Triple H was an iconic Intercontinental champ when he held it.
He had it for a while. Rock, I had it for a while. Rock and Triple H fought for it. Owen Hart.
Yeah, Owen and Brett both were iconic Intercontinental champs.
Mr. Perfect.
Oh, Mr. Perfect. That's another one, dude. He's one of the Tyson, the top two, him and Razor.
Yeah. All right, but before we wrap it up, I have a good mid-major final guy for you, although it might hurt you as a Kansas fan, that Ali Faroukmanesh.
Oh.
Classic flamethrower.
Yeah.
That got hot in the right time. That Kansas team was really good.
I thought you were going to say John Griffin from Bucknell that played for the Prep.
That's a good one too. Maybe Ryan Cook, former Chestnut Hill Griffins transfer. He went to UMBC. He got some tournament time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Shout out to Griffins. Big win this past weekend.
Yeah, what they improve to?
1-7.
Right.
But they beat Philly U, who was like supposed to be the best team in the league.
All right. Big win.
Maybe we're figuring it out. Maybe
Big
not.
Griffins.
All right. Until next week, we're going to drop that beat.